So we're going to start with hypothesis building. And you probably read about how important a hypothesis is in an A/B test. But what you might not know is why. It has to do with something that Chad had mentioned, cognitive biases. Sort of the gasoline of the engine of experience optimization is these crazy behaviors that are invisible but are very measurable. And the power of Adobe Target is it uses math to sort of cut through all of the unpredictable behavior that people exhibit and provide the best experience regardless. It does things that humans just wouldn't be able to predict. So what is a cognitive bias? Well, one was already mentioned. That was survivorship bias. The tendency we have to think something is easier than it really is because all we've heard are the success stories. But there are two others that are going on right here in Las Vegas in the casinos. One is called confirmation bias. And that's seeing patterns, runs, and streaks in random data where none exist. We're actually believing these. These phantoms are influencing our prediction. And here's an example of where you might actually have experienced this yourself. Tell me if this sounds familiar. So you're gambling and you tell your friends, hey, I'm going to play for another hour, then I'm going to go back to the room and we'll go off and do something else. An hour goes by, an hour and 10 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. Finally, they come to get you. And you look up from the table and say, I can't leave now. I'm on a roll. Or I can't leave now. My luck is just about to change. That's confirmation bias. Here's another one that goes on in the casinos. I call it ownership bias, but I guess the technical term is loss aversion. That's where you're watching your friend play cards against the dealer, and the cards have been dealt out. There's another card that's about to be dealt. It's obvious that the dealer is going to fold. But your friend doesn't double down. Why not? Well, it's because they value the chips that they already have more than the greater number of chips that statistics tell them and common sense tell them they could win. So why am I telling you all this? Well, it's because we can't educate these biases out of our own brains. It's not just the gas that fuels experience optimization, but it can really mess things up unless we use hypotheses. Now, let me give you an example, a demonstration of just how innate these biases are. All right. By a show of hands, how many of you have gambled so far this visit or will gamble? How many people are planning on gambling? Okay, good number. It's a fun, obviously, it's a fun thing to do. So probably about a third. So all of you who raised your hands, I want you to tell me with a show of hands, how many of you think you're better at it than these two? Trick question, because these are really clever monkeys. This is a capuchin monkey. There was a whole colony of them that were participated in a scientific experiment, a long-term test, conducted by some researchers in the UK about a dozen years ago. And I know what you're thinking, and I want to tell you in advance, no monkeys were harmed in the conduct of this experiment. In fact, it's just the opposite. What they did was they taught these capuchin monkeys that these silver discs were like money. So whenever the monkey handed in a disc, it would get a grape back, and they loved grapes. So they valued it just like you and I would value a poker chip. So then what they did is, well, this was a capuchin monkey's day during this experiment. The monkey would get up, they'd be handed some chips, they would go and they would gamble all day. The researchers would run these simple games of chance that the monkeys could grasp, and they calculated how the monkeys did. And then at the end of the day, they cashed in their winnings. Yeah, not cruel. That's not what I would call cruel. In fact, my parents have another word for this. They call it retirement. But here's the amazing thing. So they recorded all of these risk-averse behaviors. And then they did the same thing with grad students. Same data set. Experts could not tell the difference between the two of them. Now, these are very educated psychology students. And yet, what they discovered is that this risk aversion, this loss aversion, is something that is so innate it probably predates us as humans. So you can't factor them out. Now, here's why hypotheses are important. You, as the A/B tester, need to use a very careful hypothesis because otherwise you're going to lie to yourself and you're not even going to realize it. To use the immortal words, to paraphrase the immortal words of Christopher Wallace, better known as Biggie Smalls, to not use a hypothesis is to get high on your own supply of cognitive bias.